So many times I've seen such a broken and divided road of what is in store for Georgia's offense going into the future. And everybody seems to think that it's Coach Bobo um, needs to be gone. Stacy Searles needs to be gone. All these people that can all of a sudden coach players need to be gone. And I'm going to tell you, it's not just about what the coaches are doing. I see execution not happening. And a lot of people say, well, that should be the accountability of the coaches as well. Well, to me, it's not as much the accountability of the coaches to try to make sure that we're executing at 100% efficiency. You can have a good game plan, have a great week of practice with kids that are ready to go out there and do their job. But if you've got brokenness and you've got dispute and you've got bitterness and you've got personal issues that are conflicting with the ability to just go out and play football and have fun, that creates a whole different um, atmosphere for what you're trying to do and accomplish in a game. Because, Coach Searles, I know, is coaching his ass off. Coach Bobo's doing the same thing. He is trying his best to make sure that, you know, his players are compliant. They're doing their job. They're executing. They're hustling. They're doing the little things right. But when it comes to game time, you're just not seeing that performance. There's a reason why we're not necessarily performing to the best of our ability. We had to bring in with Ben Urosic, taking some reps away from Delp and Lucky. We had ETN coming in, being basically our primary back because we were down two other running backs. That's why Nate Frazier had to come to the fold. And, I'm glad he did because I think he's going to be a superior talent. But when you have two scat backs, and not have any type of bruising backs to run the football, it creates a different mindset of what you want to do offensively in the run game. We did not establish a good run game all year long. Our running game was inefficient, and therefore that led us to having to put our back foot to the passing game. And as you know, I don't think Lovett and Smith and Bell could hold their weight with the tight ends being sort of that counterpart, that complement to the game, and helping in the way that we would like to see. And I think that's why there were so many inconsistencies. On top of the fact that you had a quarterback who had lost the locker room, you bring in someone who is raw and green, trying to establish himself, and he don't get to establish himself against people like Ball State or Appalachian State or Marshall or whatever it may be. He has to establish himself against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl after his coming back after halftime in the SEC championship game. And what he did in the SEC championship game is he played hard, he played with guts, he played with the desire, but he didn't do anything stupid that cost us the ball game. But when you put him into a 4-quarter game against a very good Notre Dame team, some things stood out, and it wasn't necessarily Gunner that was the issue. We still saw those same inconsistencies from the play calling of Mike Bobo to the execution of our wide receivers, and Dylan Bell having one of the most underwhelming games I've ever seen him play, to be targeted so much. You could tell that Gunner had really put some trust in Dylan, and he let him down. Dylan Bell coming back is going to be a Swiss Army knife. I really hope they move him out of the receiver rank and utilize him as a hybrid, almost as a running back. H hybrid is where he needs to be at next year, with Lovett and Arian Smith moving on. But I wanted to show you this play particularly because this is what I thought that we would utilize Gunner with in the passing game. And this is where, to me, Mike Bobo's schematic really helps him in this situation. I don't have a problem with this one bit in the least, because you're getting a lot of things that create eye discipline, misdirection off of this. So what I want to do is bring in the tools here to draw for you the schematic draw up that we have here for this. And once I get the tools ready here, I should have already had those ready for you. But what we're going to get out of this is you're going to get duo play action. We're going to get slide left protection. So when you get slide left protection, typically if the tight end were to leave on a route, typically you would have slide protection with the running back fitting off of that play action wise. But since they're going to leave Urosek in with the slide protection, now we can show true duo action, and then he's going to slip out the backside off of this. Now, all with that, you're going to get Dominic Lovett going in wide motion. Okay. So you get this motion, which makes people's eyes link up to that. You get the down duo action, a cross face with Nate Frazier coming here. So what you're going to get on this backside is he's going to squeeze and run the cross, or drag is what you would call out of this. Arian is going to push vertically through number one, through the safety. And what we're doing here is we're going to choice option this. I like this call because it gives Gunner a choice to do two things. First off, Arian more than likely is just a plug fill. It's very similar to how a tackle will penetrate and push the tackle guard back on the combo, and we get the the inside from the end off of that, running the inside spill to that, and it's the same principle. It's the same concept here. You are trying to get him to push off to make him make a decision of whether he goes under it or whether he goes over the top of it. Okay. And then that question off this play action right here is going to determine whether, when Gunner gets the play action and he boots off of this, which I love, because you get him outside the tackle box. When you get him outside the tackle box and he's on the move, all of a sudden now you give a guy that has good, strong legs the ability to run the football. So I'm going to put this in motion here and show you the concept right off of it. So you can see here, because of this, I didn't get a chance to slow that down where I wanted to. So we'll pull this back. So you can see here that the safety's sitting high because, as we know, Notre Dame likes to run a lot of man. So they're going to be disciplined on the backside. Your linebacker is going to be watching the running back for the backside screen or the rail route, which is meaning that he's getting manned up, which is no problem out of this. But see the play action here off this. Now, get depth, Gunner. I'd like to see you get more depth off of this. And I know you say, why would I want to get depth when I'm not getting pressure? When you get depth and you run more of a umbrella, all right, instead of flat down the line of scrimmage, to me, getting around just allows the mechanics of your shoulders to follow with your hips so that you step into a throw you want. Now, I know he's reading this quick, so he really doesn't have time necessarily to get that depth. But what he's noticing off of this read, okay, is that he has a safety that is chosen because he doesn't want to get picked. If he came off of this underneath, I'm sure Arian is going to be pushing this to the skinny. Okay. He pushes this to the skinny because he wants to pull defenders away from the numbers to the sideline. So if this safety were to come down and try to go underneath this vertical push right here, what you got out of this is the fly route, and he's gone off that wheel. And then as he's rolling, he's reading the safety. All right. And he sees that he's gone underneath that. So he's going to throw the go. Now, because he chooses to go over the top of this, what we're going to do now, that creates a natural spacing. So we're going to Dominic's going to sit down off of this, and we've got a choice route to him right here. But what's nice out of this too is that if you did decide to run the skinny and you did decide to go ahead and run the fly, to run the rail, to run the wheel, whatever you want to call it, even with that safety over the top, now you've got a quarterback with legs with everybody inside holding off that duo action. Now he's able to get outside and he's able to run with a football. This is how you game plan with Gunner Stockton in the ball game, period. And so I can sit here and beat a dead horse. I know the game's over with. The national championship has been played. But these are the things that I'm watching and looking at film. Film doesn't lie, as we've heard many people say. And this is something that I think puts us in a good, positive play role. We're 2nd and 9, first quarter with 3:23 to go. Nobody's scored yet. We're driving. This is the drive that ETN fumbles on. But it's because we did things like this that put us in good play design. The skinny post, he choices off of that. He's rolling. Look at all that space out here. Think about if he runs him off in man. What do we have here with Gunner? Do y'all see all this space right there? Of course, we'd eventually have somebody coming up to try to make the tackle off this. They'd have to turn and block. Probably get a first down. Maybe not an explosive play, but it's a positive play because you give choices to everything that's happening here. So I'm going to rewind this. I want you to watch Humphreys on the backside. See, these are the things you evaluate when you're looking at that. First off, I'm looking at the slide protection if I'm grading film, and I'm looking at how they do on their job across the board with their slide level protection, including your Rosick. Okay. I look at Humphreys. Does he get off the man-to-man and separate on the drag coming across? Because he is the second option off of this if this play right here with Dominic going across doesn't happen for some odd reason, if there's a bust or a breakdown. So if you look here and you see him going across, I can see very quickly that there is a little bit You got a little stunt here, a little tackle in stunt that's going to bring this guy across. He gets free, but that's the reason why, even with slide left protection, you get him outside the box. These guys don't matter, honestly. They're just in chase, and he's outside the tackle box right here. All right. Look at what Jurasic does off of this. I'm sitting here looking, how does he do on that slide protection? I like how he pushes him down inside and then works back out right there. So good job of executing right here. I would have to look more specifically. That's the reason why the tight copy would be better than this wide copy, looking at it from the sideline to be able to evaluate the lineman. But I look at London Humphreys right here, see if he gets off his route right here. Does he separate from that corner and get across on the drag? And he's already thrown the football, but you can see here, he's not really separated from that guy. Did he really do a good job? And see, this tells me, is he a dummy route? Is he just running the route complementary to what's going on here? Do you see a guy that's really trying to get off man to man? Why wouldn't you want to stem him outside to make him flip his hips or try to turn before you work back inside? I don't see as much work here from him trying to get off of that and be able to push. And like I said, that's something that he's got to get better at to get separation off that drag. You want at least one more step, maybe a step and a half to be off of this for Gunner to even be in the window for him. So, maybe change the route progression off of this, maybe not push it as vertical, stem him outside, and where you want to be almost eye to eye with Gunner off of this if he doesn't throw this route to Dominic right here. But still, though, positive play. I like the fact that you've got motion across, duo action that brings the running back oppo to it, slide protection that puts Gunner out on the edge. You get rollout, choice option based off where the safety's at, good pitch and catch, and a positive play for almost a first down. Well-designed play by Coach Bobo right here. I call this a bastard formation because you have a nub tackle on the backside, so you've got all four receivers to the left side, which means you're going to have someone who's ineligible off of this. I made a point to say to this when I was doing this earlier that you could run boot action off of this because we do like to run the reverse with Arian, that we could boot off of this and have a drag across the field by Delp. Delp right now is covered up, which means he couldn't release on a route. So the only thing that would change off of this that I would do differently is that if we were to run some kind of boot action off of this where you have somebody going play side on the drag, is that you still have your split coming across for the flat and let this guy right here truly be your drag guy and have Arian just come off of this, be your outlet guy here. And you have split, you have the drag, and off of this, if he doesn't like what he sees off the pitch action, that he takes it and runs with it himself. So, they don't run the boot action off of this, but it would be a great play to run off of it too as well. But Delp is ineligible, and what they're going to run here is what I call buck toss, buck sweep. And the reason why is because the half hat of the center, anything that pulls, if the puller's on the play side, you're going to have something that you would refer to that as a G type play or a gap scheme concept of a guard pulling on this side. We used to call it gark, where you would have the person lined up as a tight end that would arc to put influence on your end to see what he would do. All right. And if he widened with the arc, what that would do is help the guard play side to pull and kick him. And we would run quick toss out. It'd be quick toss sweep out of this, and he'd be downside inside of that. And a lot of people would get it confused thinking it was power, but it was not. We called it gark, where you have an arc by the tight end and you would have the guard play side pull. Now in buck sweep, it used to be guard and guard to pull. The front side guard would pull to kick. The backside guard would pull to wrap to a play side backer. We have such a good puller in Jared Wilson that he's the puller along with our play side tackle. So what happens is the tackle is going to be the kick out, and Jared is going to be the guy to wrap for next thing he sees. Eyes should be inside as he pulls here. So we're going to fake the toss look to Arian, and we're going to toss it to Nate with these guys pulling. Now, what's also very tough about this is because Gunner is under center and we're running split action off of this because of the man, what we're trying to do is pull defenders. So right now you have somebody who is responsible for Arian on this orbit. You've got somebody responsible for Jurasic on the split action. So, we're trying to pull defenders away from where we're wanting to run the football, which we get as the motion takes place. So London does a good job of putting down and blocking down. Delp does a good job of blocking down. Here comes Monroe. He has nobody to kick. So his eyes should be outside to the first defender. As Jared wraps behind this, his eyes should be inside to the next defender. And that's basically what you end up getting because they over pursue. It ends up really being 2 kickouts. Nate helps on this and is able to get back inside using those screens right there. And now we're 88 and out the gate for a great run. So again, this is another good play call from a Coach Bobo that everybody hates. Again, put the ball in playmakers' hands using motion to focus eye discipline away from where you're wanting to go with gap scheme with linemen that we should have athletically taking care of business. But when you think about it, it all comes down to, do we have a wide receiver that can maintain a block? Do we have a tight end that can do their job on their seal blocks down? Because if these 2 blocks get missed, London misses one later on in the game when they try to run something with Dylan Bell in the same situation. You've got to have receivers that can block like tight ends, especially when you're bringing them down into the box in order to help assist you get a run play 88 and out the gate. And in this place, London does just a good enough job to seal that down. Everybody's kick out, and Nate has a great run here. Again, I give Coach Bobo probably more hell than not out of the fact that I never see him want to hand the jet sweep off. We always seem to have somebody in jet sweep coming across. And in this case, it's Arian Smith to actually hand it on the jet sweep. And, honestly, this play could have gotten blown up. It was a decent play on 1st and 10. But we're going to show split action off the handoff. So it looks like what I like out of this, if you're coming downhill running, I love running split zone from under center because it puts your running back straight downhill on his zone handoff in the mesh. You still got the split action coming across, and you got Jurasic arcing out to the play side. So what you end up getting is you have an inside guy that's really useless off of this. He's just there for the play action. You have Jurasic that's going to step out and reach, and they're going to give the ball to Arian all on the jet to try to get the edge here. But what I'm thinking out of this is I'm surely to goodness he has some type of play action off of this. Because if you think about it, if he's your motion back, he's going to be your safety outlet off the fake. You're going to get the downhill look here, and you're going to get the split action look here. So what I'm thinking off of this is that you play action this to put him into the shoot route. You put Jurasic on an outside still influence release, but get him back across on the drag. And then you've got your outside receiver, Dylan Bell, pushing either on the vertical to clear or have him sit down and run the comeback right past the first down marker. So you can still run play action boot out of this as he hands this off and then able to sprint out off of this. So it's not necessarily a boot action more than it is play side sprint out is what you're going to get, because he is opening up like he's going to hand off on the jet, which he's done on this play. I'm talking about, fluidity, sequentially having a play to build off something else. The fake handoff to your tailback coming down on the split zone and then sprinting out off of that to have these 3 in your progression off of that. So there's a lot of things that come to play with this, because if he comes downhill and runs his shoot route, you're going to have a lot of people that's really trying to force that. That's the reason why I think the drag coming behind that would be wide open to this. And then, of course, you have a timing route where Dylan Bell pushes his corner off, sits down, comes back, and it'd be a good throw and catch from your quarterback to your outside receiver as well. You also just could, like I said earlier, you could bring the split action off of this, have the tight end block zone inside, try to climb up to this backer, everybody blocking zone. You've got this guy in in jet action. You fake it, he splits, and you open it up and actually hand it on zone downhill. You could actually have him push off, run a slam technique, and these guys up here are blocking Zulu. So, I'm thinking, as always, with any play that you run, and I'm sure Coach Bobo has a design off of this as well. But again, I like this action because we actually run the jet sweep. We actually hand it off on the jet sweep. We get Jurasic out here on the edge. And Arian, God love him, as fast as he is, I've seen these kind of kids before, and I've always said it. Arian is someone who runs very fast in a straight line, but he has no hips because he's a track guy. You would think somebody as a track guy would have flexible hips, but he's not going to be cutting on a dime like Ladd McConkey does, even like Anthony Evans did, or anything of that nature. When you've got a center of gravity that's different, you will notice it's just like with him right here running the football. You will see he just looked kind of awkward as he gets the ball in the jet handoff. I mean, he's trying to run, but he runs, you can see it's almost like he's trying to turn the corner. And, he's not putting his foot in the ground and changing direction very quickly. But once he gets up to game speed, he's obviously very fast. And in this case, gets a first down, which you can definitely appreciate right here. But the main factor that I like out of this, believe it or not, is not the fact that it's a positive play, is that we run the actual jet sweep. And I don't know if I ever saw any compliment off of this formation. I call this Lucy right tight. All right, Lucy right tight, and then you're going to get just the jet sweep. So we would just call this 8 jet. But like I said, off of this situation, I really wish that we would see more plays that build off this jet action. But still, another well designed play by Coach Bobo that everybody seems to hate. This is a play we all want to see because it has Nitro Tuggle in the game. We're going to throw the back shoulder fade here. So we're going to be in Lucy, excuse me. Yeah, we got Lucy Trey. So Lucy means that's just trips left with the H back with twins instead of Lucky, which would be him removed into actual trips. So you've got Lucy Trey, which means Lucy to that side. Because like I said, you could call Lucy and it'd be 2x2 set, but it just tells you the H back is to the Lucy side off the tackle. I got Lucy and Ricky. Like, I love Lucy. If you ever heard it before, Lucy and Ricky left and right with a H. But anyhow, Lucy Trey. And we're going to throw the back shoulder fade to Nitro Tuggle. And I'm going to say this, the one thing that Nitro probably can do instead of being out on the numbers is maybe because he knows he's looking to try to catch the ball here on the front pylon, is maybe his pre-snap alignment should be a little bit tighter. You want to stem him on the inside shelf so that you look at all the space that he has over here to work with, because you could run a pack and go out of this to overrun it and try to catch it over your upfield shoulder. But in this case scenario, you can tell by the way the ball is thrown that it is a back shoulder throw. I think Gunner puts this in a really good spot, honestly. But here you got Gunner playing his first game with Nitro Tuggle, who's had limited reps this year. We all know his success and what we think he's going to bring to the table hopefully next year. I like what I see in him. I think he's a good-looking athlete along with Sokobe White as well. But, in this case, what he's got to be able to do is learn to separate off of this push, because that defensive back is getting in his grill right now. So as he runs him and the eyes are moving, this is where Nitro needs to take advantage of the DB. See how the DB's peeking already? This is where he needs to give the little stutter sit down instead of continuing to drift. See how he's continuing to drift? And if you continue to drift right here, then all you're doing is pull the DB with you. But you guys, I want you to know we've run the back shoulder so much. Javon Wims and Jake Fromm come to mind. Even Stetson Bennett to Dylan Bell, things of that nature. We've even seen Carson Beck complete this a few times as well with Kobe Young this year. But, this is something that he's going to get better at as he sees that peak right there. This is where I would start to sit down and put my foot in the ground and actually let his momentum take him on this way, and you actually catch it about maybe the 2, maybe the 1 yard line, and, try to get in the end zone off of that. Now, then again, that's also timing, and it could be an overthrown ball right here because of that. And you can see it's pretty high. It's taking him into the end zone. But that comes with playing time. That comes with reps at practice. That comes with trusting your guy to do his job. And in this case scenario, I don't think that this is really an execution failure by Nitro Tuggle. I think he truly wants to try to back shoulder fade this, but he's got to learn technique-wise to set his right foot in the ground right now and come back and get that ball like a high point instead of waiting on it and continuing to drift to bring his DB with him. So he never able to redirect. Honestly, it's easier to catch that football if he's got more depth to the sideline and work back to the ball instead of having to drift backwards over, sort of like in a back pedal. Okay. So I'm perfectly fine with the throw. I'm honestly not really disappointed in what Nitro did here. What he's going to learn to do, though, is time that up a little bit better, be able to put his foot in the ground so that he can react. And what I'm saying for those people to understand, if he's a little bit closer to the sideline here, he's able to put his foot in the ground and react back this way to the football as it's being thrown instead of continuing to drift this way off of a back pedal that really puts him unbalanced in that, and he doesn't have the ability to get any height off of his jump here, because you can see his height of his jump was not very good, and he's only able to get the one hand on the football. But this is something that comes with timing from whoever the quarterback is to whoever that receiver is, that you're running those plays you're getting those reps in, even when it's not on the play card that day for Skelly, for inside individual with your receivers. You should have a 5-minute period just for back shoulder throws. You should have a 5-minute period with your quarterbacks for back shoulder throws. And if you don't have practice that day for any back shoulder throwing, you still after practice with your quarterback and say, hey man, you want to go through about 20 reps here of back shoulder throws to the 5, to the 10, to the 5, to the goal line, so I can get a feel of where the ball is at. That's where you get better at. And in this case scenario, I think this is definitely positive vibes to come with Nitro Tuggle, with Gunner Stockton, with whoever is throwing the football. And we're going to see a lot more tutties later in the future. This is the reason why I give Coach Bobo such a hard time with this, because I like this look right here. I typically double slot, which is an even symmetric formation. You have two guys off the tackle, two wide receivers on the line of scrimmage. And what you have here is I would always use the logo or the team name of the team we were playing for that look that week. So this would just be Irish Left Nasty. So what that tells is that we're in double slot, but we have a nasty, and I tell them where they're tagged at. So that means the receiver that's on this side comes to this side. But what it does do is it makes him ineligible when you do that. But what you're trying to do out of this is you're trying to establish runs. So, I'm looking as much Notre Dame runs man. When Cash goes in motion, they're going to flip off of this. So he's going to take the responsibility of Cash as he bails out, take his responsibility. But again, I don't understand out of this, because we're going to get, I think, straight zone. I don't know if we get split or if we actually get straight zone. Let me look at this real quick. We're just running base left zone, Zulu right here off of this. Actually, we're running, looks like based off the way everybody's stepping, we're actually running zone right here. So we got Zorro action off of this. And, and I have no problem bringing the tight end to take care of this, because we're in the backside tight end here. I like running it away from the tight end against Notre Dame, the way I saw it breaking film down. So they actually ran it here, I think, in a good motion. And you can see how our line of scrimmage has moved Notre Dame out of the way. We can talk about it all we want to, but I think there was times where our line did a great job of moving Notre Dame's hats. You can see there, Notre Dame's hats are on their side of the line of scrimmage. We are moving them, handing the ball off. Trevor's got to be more I don't know, just decisive in his cutting. I saw him cut way too much in this game, and it really just made me scratch my head a lot of times. Like, what is he thinking? Jump cut that, get outside this guy right here, and use your speed. You're one-on-one with him. And, he just sat there and danced a little bit. And like I said, where you thought you had a big play ends up just being a 2 or 3 yard gain. But I want to go back to the reason why I'm talking about this play and breaking it down from a Coach Bobo perspective. Why in the absolute hell we don't have a jet to hand off to him? Why is it always Arian that we have to hand it off to? Because these two guys are in man. All right. So if they're pressuring, what I would try to do is run him off because he's off. You would definitely have to block him because he's on man on. Okay. And you're going to outrun him because you're going to get an outside influence step to try to block and seal whatever shows first. And you hand the ball to Cash Jones right here. Okay. And you can still run the fake zone action out of this as well. But I just want to show you right here what would have happened. Look if we had turned and handed this off to Cash. Okay. Cash would have been getting the ball, of course. We would have had this guy in space, him blocking. You would have had Delp arcing because you're going to outrun the tight end off the influence. Or either you could have Delp bang, what I call a bang, where he bangs him right there and then bounces off of him to the next level just to make sure that end doesn't get pressure going into the line of scrimmage so that we don't have to arc the jet. Because the one thing you don't want the jet to do is arc when you hand it off because you have defensive end pressure. So I call bang by the tight. Tight will bang, especially if they're outside in the 9 technique. So the tight end would actually step play side hat, bang, and then bounce off of him and get to the next level so that he doesn't penetrate into the backfield and cause your jet back to do that. If your jet back needs to be flat, so that he can get, upfield as quickly as he can. And if he gets him reached and he gets him somewhat sealed, Cash has an alley outside right here. But we never have anything that comes off of this. I'm thinking, I don't understand why we run so much jet motion to never run it. Now, I did talk about it earlier with Arian getting the ball, but that was the only jet action, I think, where we handed the ball off. I would love for us to hand it off right here and give it to Cash on the jet and let him do his job. But still, that comes down to why Coach Hartley and why the rest of the staff, I know, that are charting plays for him right there, say, hey, we might need to come back to this a little bit later and run the jet to Cash and let him see if we can get them outside if we get them in this formation, because it seems to me that a lot of defenses are very what's the word, unless you've got a blitz on or anything of that nature, they have their old traditions and habits that they'll line up the same way every time to a certain formation. So all you're getting here is the flip of the corner and the safety to take Cash and man. But they have no thought process that he is going to be running a route out of this, because that's all it is man-to-man responsibilities. You hand the ball off, Xavier Watts doesn't give a crap about man anymore. He's flying down. They've got to block and seal. He's got to sit here and take him on. You could even run him off and then run the slam technique and have him get to the safety and let the corner try to come up and make the tackle. There's so many things that you could do here. And in essence, I know it's either, I'm cherry picking a play that went for 3 yards that could have possibly gone for 10. But I'm just saying, why not run the jet? Why not have the option to hand the ball off on the jet to Cash Jones and see what they do out there on the edge with the safety coming down?